Well, first and foremost, because, it's coming up soon. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours.
And to you and yours as well. I hope it is fun and not overly exciting.
We're looking for calm this year. We've had enough excitement. Thank you. That's been sufficiently exciting. Of course, the people at home will have already experienced their Thanksgiving if they live in the U.S.
Well, the Canadians have also already experienced their
Well,
Thanksgiving news
but not as recently.
some time ago.
Don't get technical on me. I'm not here for your technicalities.
Do you guys watch the parade?
What parade?
Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade?
I don't watch TV, so I don't know. I can't answer that question. TV happens in a room that is not the one I am in usually.
I can appreciate that. This is just kind of a family tradition with my mom and I.
Yeah.
So,
And the reason it happens in a room, which I am not traditionally in, is because traditionally that room is no fun to be in when the TV's on.
is it news or CSI?
Oh, it's news. CSI I'm fine with.
My in-laws are NCIS, CSI, and news,
Mm.
and sports, I guess.
No.
My parents are more or less the same with a focus on sports over news, and my mother's love of British murder mysteries.
Good. My mother likes a good British murder mystery too. It's just I'm better here. This is a better space for me here, stuffed
In
into
your
this
corner.
stuffed into this closet. Yes,
In your own little corner,
That's
in
right.
your own little chair.
that's right. This is happier times here. So what it does allow me to do is get lots and lots of reading done, which you may have noticed is a thing we occasionally do on this show. Some directed reading, some voluntarily selected reading going on in order to fill those little hours between shouting at the TV and sleeping.
But you didn't stay in the room with the TV.
I don't, but as much as my voice might carry, my father's carries even better. So there you go. I literally have to go out into the front room and say, now I'm going to be recording. So if you could just manage to keep it down to a dull roar, that'd be fine. That'd be great. Anyway, we did a book.
Okay.
We did a book, right? You did a book. We read a book. This time we both read the book that was supposed to be read, right?
Yes, we both read it in its entirety, as far as I know.
Excellent. We've done a good job then. We're already better than last time. Already.
Well, I'm no better than last time, but I'm glad that you've improved.
If you'd like to apply to be co-host of the book reading show, please just, email me. That's fine.
Find him on Twitter at Fiddleback.
That's right.
And websites, what? Me.fiddleback or fiddleback.me.
Right.
Something.
Go with that.
Use the internet. You know how it works.
Right.
In theory. if
Possibly
you're
better
listening
than
to
Leslie does. That's
this. It's not hard.
neither here nor there. The book we are reading or have been reading or did read or were told we should be
Completed
reading. Yes,
recently.
that completed book that we have done, which is the thing which we read have done, is called The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Would you like to synopsize it for us?
I would like to muse over the fact that we read a book where there was a catastrophic event that caused the world to fill with ash and disruption, and some people have magic powers related to that.
Yeah.
And it sounds familiar, but not familiar.
It does sound familiar. I didn't know it was going to sound so familiar at the time. Apparently a bad thing happened, which we are not really told about until much later in the book as to exactly what the bad thing was.
I don't think we're really...
Oh no, we've been told.
But that's true. We have the base statement of what happened.
Yes, exactly. We have been told.
And then everything else fell apart from there.
Yes, it all fell apart from there. The world has been in disaster and has somewhat recovered from disaster, but it's about to enter another disaster. And there is
Season.
there don't give that away yet. And because of these disasters, magic has arisen somehow. Magical abilities. We think they're magical at this point. We're not sure. Because this is one of those little hybrid sort of books, which is both sci-fi and fantasy at the same time, which is interesting, I think. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're just going to sit there And you're going to look like, whatever.
Quietly and let you ramble.
Whatever,
Slow
Brian.
down.
You're saying what you're saying. Doesn't make any sense to anybody but you, but that's okay. No,
No, I think that you'll have a lot of positive replies to everything you've said thus far.
Okay.
Not from me, from other
Not
people.
from you, because
People that matter.
You are a hater. Okay. It
was childish. Continue your synopsizing.
So what we've got is the story of ostensibly three different people. How would we characterize them? A child, a young adult, and a more mature adult, we'll say.
An adult and a slightly older, an adult and an older adult.
Right.
We're not really given strict ages, I don't think.
Yeah, I want to say the adult is more like a late teen, early 20s kind of person.
I figured early 20s, and then the adult as
30s, somewhere in there. Yeah. Anyway.
Late 30s, maybe.
Ages are not really specified all that much. There's a few, but not many. But the point is, all three of these people are living in a world that has met with catastrophe, and they are recovering from it. And they all have a particular viewpoint on that world. And they learn to come, well, they don't learn to come to terms with anything, but they learn to come more fully into their own selves as they go along. And they learn to function where they are. Yeah, I'm juggling some spoilery things here that I don't want to give away. We're going to have to figure out how to deal with that, because there's a really big spoiler that has a lot to do with the book. There is. That we really need not to say, because it's a cool reveal. Yes. It is a very cool reveal. And as I told you when I hit the final confirmation of that, I kind of suspected that was the case early on. Oh, yeah. By the way, he sent me a text that was entirely in caps. I knew it. I did. Very proud. So. And that it will become evident. But anyway, it's got a couple of neat little, well, 3 or 4 little neat little spoilers in it, or twists, we'll say, because they wouldn't be spoilers if you're reading the books. 3 or 4 neat little twists that really bring this thing home. The Too Long Didn't Read version of this review, I would just tell you now, for me, the Too Long Didn't Read version is, yes, get this book, read it, you will enjoy it, probably. I certainly did. And now we'll talk about why. Leslie, what's your TLDR version? It's good enough. It's not for me. Okay, here's the thing. I am a delicate little flower. Yes, you are. It's terrible. I really don't enjoy foul language or sexual content to any extreme. Right. And when I find it in the narration, it just bothers me, because it's very jarring. Yeah. And there's language in this, and, they use language between themselves and that, whatever. But like I said, when I find it in the context of the narration, it just kind of smacks me out of whatever depth I've gotten into in reading the book. To be fair, that is me. To be fair, though, I will grant you that okay, so there is some not safe for work stuff in the book. So don't go reading this out loud to people at work, I guess. But yeah, the book itself doesn't look very scandalous. The majority of the content is not scandalous, but there are some fairly, to be fair, the one part that is really actually very specific does jump out at you from nowhere, basically. Okay, it's not like the book has been slowly leading up to this very descriptive scene. It's like, nope, we're here, we're doing it now. Bye. Sorry to lose you. If you can't make this part, then the rest of the book's not for you. It's a very abrupt book as well. Mm-hmm. Just in it's okay. So Brian told you there are 3 characters. Mm-hmm. There are. We've got young, middle, old. Mm-hmm. That's not accurate, but it's enough to kind of explain. These are all told in separate chapters, in separate threads. So you are jumping from one to the other, and one of them is addressing the reader. Okay, so this is one of the things I definitely want to talk about, is the way this book approaches one of the characters. The book, by and large, is written in a pretty standard frame of reference, okay? Third person, omniscient sort of thing, right? Yes. Except for one of the characters is written... Semi-omniscient. Yes. Is written entirely in first person. In other words, you are the character. You are addressed as if you are the character. So it is written like you go down to the lake and you go for a swim and you see the fish and okay, it is addressing you directly. It is
Well, for in just for context, the prologue itself is addressed as "You are here," and then I think all of the chapters do have titles, and all of the chapters with this character, for instance, chapter 1, "You, comma at the end, you are she is you." That is the first chapter in the book. It is addressing you as the reader, as the character.
Yes,
which was really interesting. That was not something that I've come across, I believe.
the only other, and of course I'm missing some, but the only other book I can think of that takes this approach, but it does it for the entire book rather than just certain chapters in the book, is Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas.
I'm sorry, what?
Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas. And you're going to ask me who wrote that, and I'm going to be dumb and forget is what it is.
That's okay. The internet was my memory was able to dredge it out of nowhere after typing Half Asleep.
Tom Robbins wrote this book, Half Asleep in Frog Pajamas.
Should I know that author?
It is I don't know. Should you? What do you think?
Oh, the name sounds familiar. Anyway, continue.
It is written entirely in the first person, the entire book. And I believe its opening line is, in fact, something like, "You are half asleep in frog pajamas." And it just...
Oh, that's upfront.
It goes from there. It's like the only one I'm aware of personally that's written that way. I'm sure there's others.
I've had like moments in books where you're addressed directly, but for the most part, it's a first-person narrative, and it's just taking a conversational approach to explaining something going on.
It does a little fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
Okay, this is totally different than that.
It is not actually fourth wall breaking in the least. Mm-hmm. It's just...
Now, the question I want to explore with you very, very quickly here is, why aren't more books written in the first person?
In this context, this specific style?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because people don't think about it. They want to bring their readers in. This, in a way, is addressing the reader. Like, it's just talking at them and explaining, like, this is you, not saying, "Come into my world, fold yourself in it." It's just a different... It's kind of turning narrative direction inside out,
right,
or upside down.
Right.
And I think it's not done a lot because it's just, not a lot of people have gone, "Man, this is a great idea. I should do this."
Well, see, there's also...
It also might be difficult to maintain for an extended period of time.
There's that. But there's also the thought that it becomes, if it's handled very poorly, well, not even very poorly, if it's handled even just a little bit poorly, it reads more like the author instructing the reader and issuing orders and directives. Okay? Rather than telling a story, you're telling the reader what to do. And most people tend to shy away from that. Okay? It's one of the reasons when you're writing a formal paper, you are not supposed to use the word "you." Okay? Like, "You will observe that such and such has happened." No, it has been observed that such and such has happened. Okay? So it's in the first person, it's a lot like giving instruction, and you want to stay away from that because maybe the reader doesn't feel that way. Maybe the reader doesn't want to do the thing that you're saying that they should do. Okay? But it
doesn't appeal to the contrarian audience.
Right. And that is one of the reasons that the scene that you probably objected most strongly to is so strongly objectionable, is because it's written as if it's actually happening to you.
Mm.
Okay? I think that's part of it. It may not be the whole thing, but I think that's part of it.
It is also partially just because I tend not to enjoy that vein.
Sure.
So it is what it is. So that was one of the things that quietened cooled my attitude towards the book as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't fall into my style. I'm not gonna lie, I had trouble starting this book.
Sure.
Because it is very fractured at the beginning. As you get to know the three characters, you get to get a good feel for what's going on and everything. You spend more time with them in the chapter. The first handful of chapters are like, so this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening, and everything that's happening sucks.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing good that happens in this book except for
Yes.
Give me a second.
Uh-huh.
There are two good things that happen in this book.
Two good things, you say.
And I'm pretty sure they both happen in the last third.
Possibly. I will tell you this. I think this book is very deliberately exactly what you have described.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that scene that you have the strongest objections to, which I'm not going to go into, obviously, but I think that scene is deliberately done that way to be very jarring and very much shake you up as the reader.
Everything in this book is jarring, though. Like, there's no time for the reader to get comfortable in this world because the world itself is uncomfortable. That is not a complaint against the style or approach or delivery of this book. That is an observation. It is not a style that It is not a style that I personally enjoy, but it is something that I can appreciate. And I do appreciate a lot of the things that happened in this book.
Okay. So we need to back up just a bit and kind of maybe fill in a bit of what the book's about because we really haven't explained all that much.
Okay, so...
All right. So I'm going to let you try because I'm not going to do it very well.
So we have our three characters. You can let me know how you pronounce things. We've got the You chapters, which are addressed to you, the reader, who is, I was saying Essun in my head, spelled Essun.
Fine by me.
There is the child, who is, I was saying Damaya, Damaya, and then I actually looked up how to say her name. The middle person is it Syenite?
Sure, that works for me.
Syenite. It is actually a stone.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually looked up.
Why is it important that it's a stone? Fill in that bit of detail.
Okay, so in this world where the world has fallen apart and exploded and is currently attempting to render itself asunder every, little while, there are people that are granted powers to work within the earth itself in a way.
Right.
They draw upon its energies and they can, in fact, keep things from exploding, basically. They can calm earthquakes and even tremors. They can cause them, they can move things just with kind of an internal application of pressure and energy drawn from the world around them.
You and I in a sillier world might have called them geomancers.
Isn't that a Pokemon? Sorry. Sillier world, you said it, okay? And so they are, in this particular section of the world, which is the only section we see, are taken in, if they're lucky, by the Fulcrum and trained to hone their skills and become tools to use them and more or less preserve the world.
Right.
Because they can't make it better, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The best they can do is keep it from,
They can only prevent the inevitable for
They can delay things.
Yeah, a little while. So, okay.
And they all have rock names. That's where he was going with the why is it important. These people are all renamed upon training to have these names.
Right. Okay. There is a method of telling who is how good at this particular, what they call origini. This is the name of the magic, origini or something.
Orogeny.
Whatever.
Who knows?
Okay. Anyway.
We're making it up in our heads, guys.
Pronounce it how you want. I don't care. The thing, each of them is assigned a ring as they achieve certain levels in their manipulative abilities. So 10 ringers are as powerful as you can get, apparently.
They are phenomenal and amazing and fairly rare.
Right. In our case, Syenite is a 4-ringer.
Yes.
Okay. And she has been in the Fulcrum for a while. Damaya is just entering the Fulcrum. Her story is about
she's
her
being retrieved.
Yeah, about being retrieved from, because what happens is people with this power are dangerous to the general population. Okay? More often than not, what happens is they sort of unconsciously use their power. So when they feel threatened or in danger or whatever, they have a tendency to accidentally wipe things out. And the
Like people.
yes, and the way the power works is it draws heat from the surroundings and freezes things out, and that kills as many people as, say, for example, accidentally doing an earthquake.
Side note, if you are a geologist or somebody who's a geology nerd or an earth sciences nerd, or maybe just a super word nerd, you're going to really enjoy this book because the author N.K. Jemisin sourced pretty much all of the technical terms from real existing terms. Like,
Yeah, there's an interesting story behind that as well.
tell me.
Well, okay, so the genesis for this book is that she attended a science of writing class put on by NASA, which was an effort to help science fiction writers ground their stories more in actual science rather than imagined science.
That sounds really cool.
It was, and some of the things she learned in there prompted this idea for this book in her head. So that's where this all started. What I was saying is that so what happens is if you are a untrained originist,
Also known as a, would you say Roga or Raga?
Roga, I'm totally Roga.
Okay, I read it as Raga, so.
You become very dangerous because your power is uncontrollable. You can't even control it, and you tend to murder and kill and all that kind of stuff. Just as a side effect of trying to protect yourself using this power.
Especially when you're a child because it is subconscious.
Yeah. So what happens is these children, as they're discovered or found out, or people, they've gotten older or found out, is they're killed. Okay. They're essentially burned at the stake, I guess, in most cases. They're treated as the worst kind of monster possible and killed. So there are these guardians that come from the Fulcrum, that the Fulcrum is an organization, basically. It's not necessarily a point, but it is kind of a point. It's an organization that trains these people. These guardians come from the Fulcrum and try to collect up these children and take them back to the Fulcrum for proper training. There's other things that go on with that, but again, that's something you'll want to discover as you read on your own. So that's where Demaya is, and then you have the Essen, who is the present character, the one being addressed as you, first person, is someone who has been in the Fulcrum for quite some time and is being sent out on their first real mission outside of the Fulcrum.
No.
No?
The you character is the older character. The Fulcrum character is Cyanite. You said Asun. So let's throw that out there.
Oh, right. Right.
Sorry, 3 main characters.
No,
all at
you're
the
right.
same time. Keep track.
Yeah,
of it,
it's trying to keep track here. Asun, right. Asun is somebody who used to be in the Fulcrum but has left.
Wasn't sure if you'd actually include that tidbit, but because that's not revealed till later.
Well, I think it's kind of crucial for the story. But
Is it, though? What we know is she's a surviving Orogeny user who's been in hiding, effectively.
Right. Okay. You tell the story.
Because I
can't get it right.
It's hard to keep straight. Okay, like I said, this is a very fractured book. You're jumping around.
Anyway,
in so many different planes.
The point of Asun's story is that she is outside of the Fulcrum at this point. She is hiding or attempting to hide. And since this is first chapter stuff, the person she married, her husband, while she was in hiding, she had 2 children by one of whom her husband has just this very day murdered, and then he has gone on the run with her other child, and she is trying to catch him. Okay, that's kind of her story as it starts out. Now, having muddled my way through that, that sort of provides the impetus for the 3 stories in the book. All right, then things happen. But as Leslie has been at great pains to point out here in these last few minutes as I tried to explain things, it is very fractured, and for a very good reason it is fractured. But it is not a reason we can tell you without giving away a lot of the book.
Well, I would say something that we can give you is everything in this style, in this world, is broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense in the presentation of the story that what you're reading is also going to be broken.
Right.
The world is broken. These people are broken. Some of it's metaphorical, some of it's literal. So we've got Demaya being collected for the Fulcrum by someone who is called a guardian, but is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But the world is terrifying. And then we've got Cyanite, who's in the middle of internal Fulcrum politics, being sent on what she sees as effectively a get-out-of-my-hair crap job.
Mm-hmm.
She is being sent to clear a bay of some obstructions that are preventing ships from getting in.
Right.
And then, well, as previously stated, Asuna is on the road looking for her daughter, since her son has been horribly murdered. And this is not a world you want to be alone in, because community is everything. If you don't have a community, you're basically going to die.
Community is the only thing.
Yeah.
You are... Look, there's a lot of neat stuff in this book, okay?
I won't disagree.
And there's a lot of fun stuff in here. But this book is very deliberately constructed to echo the world in which it is taking place.
Deliberate's a good choice there.
Okay?
Good word for it.
I assure you, dear reader, there is nothing in this book that's accidental. I think Ms. Jemison has very carefully considered everything she has done in this book, including the way it's presented, and including the way each and every event occurs. It's not just haphazard. She didn't just start writing at point A to see what happened when she got to point D. She hit all the stops along the way and double-checked them to make sure they were presenting the effect she wanted to present.
It's very thoroughly organized.
Yes.
Presented.
It is. I have to tell you, this is an amazing book as far as I'm concerned. This is probably one of the best reads I've had this year
Since
doing the book stuff.
The Genie and the Golem?
Yeah, since The Genie and the Golem. It's so good.
By the way, Brian likes this book. Can you guys tell?
I do. And
I don't know. Is it obvious?
I feel like... How do I put this? I feel like I've had a full experience of the world in which this book takes place. And I feel like I have kind of, to a certain extent, at least felt what it's like to live in this world. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I'm nodding because I don't want to interrupt you, but nodding doesn't do a lot of good on a podcast. As I said, I was not terribly shocked by the big reveal very cool reveal. 2/3 of the way through the book. I wasn't totally shocked by that, but I appreciated that everything had led to that. And if you were to stop and go back and look, you'd go, oh yeah, okay, all right. Because certain things are said and certain things are not said. And as it turns out, by the end of the book, it's very, very important that you notice what is not said as well. That turns out to be the really big reveal. But after we're done with recording this, I really want to have this conversation without the recording so I can hear the spoiler-filled version so I can fully comprehend where you're going with this.
Right. Where I'm
not
going...
Not at this moment.
Where I am going is if you want to see a tour de force of science fiction / light fantasy writing, then you get the 5th season and read through it. And
would you lean more heavily on science fiction than fantasy?
I would, yes.
Because of its precision?
No, because the events... Okay, so science fiction works like this. Science fiction is very much, I have this piece of science on which I am going to base this story.
This fiction?
This fiction. And I am going to extrapolate from that piece of information into one of the possible results of having that piece of info. That is science fiction, okay? I've got a fact somewhere in the world, you know? Let's reduce it down to its very simplest. What if ants could grow to be 20 feet long? What would the world be like if that could happen?
Out. I am gone.
Okay? So what would the world be like if that happened? And how would people deal with that? That is totally, you know, a little bit of science. Ants are real. We know ants, okay? And we've asked ourselves...
we know what they can do.
Right. We've asked ourselves a what-if question, and then we've extrapolated beyond that. So this book says, okay, what if X happens. What can we extrapolate? What can we extrapolate from that to the rest of the world? What happens then? Okay. And I can't tell you what the X is for this book because that X is the big spoiler at the end. So I think this is science fiction.
Okay. Fair enough.
Right. Fantasy is not so concerned about extrapolating from the real, from a piece of real knowledge. It's more concerned with what if this thing I invented could happen? What then happens from there? If magic were real, what would the rest of the world be like?
Yeah, but I feel like I wouldn't even go light fantasy because their interactions are not science-based in any way, shape, or form. These people are clearly magically interacting with the Earth. We don't know why.
Wait.
Are you saying that I'm pretty sure that was around before X happened.
Yes. I don't think it was. I think it's a result of X. Okay, so here's the problem. No, here's the problem with what you're saying though. This is book 1
of 3.
Which
annoys me.
It may turn out that what we're thinking is magic right now turns out not to be.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true.
So we got to be
don't
really
have the whole
careful.
Picture.
We got to be really careful with that assumption. But the book does sort of stand on its own. It's clearly leading into something, but it does stand on its own as a complete story for these characters.
Oh.
Up to and not including the resolution of the quest for the chasing the husband. Okay, I will tell you that goes unresolved, but
I do not see this as a standalone story.
But it may also be resolved. It may be that is the end of that pursuit. I don't know because we haven't read 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are on my to read list.
Yes, I saw that when I turned on Goodreads.
That's how nice this book is, I think.
Yes, Brian is super excited about it. I'm annoyed because it feels like an episode 1, not like a book 1. I feel very nose-ringed, and I don't enjoy that sensation, especially since the big reveal at the end, which is almost literally, I don't know, it might be the last line of the book.
Mm-hmm.
I had figured out, or I'd been wondering about the entire time, so I'm like, okay, so what is so special about this? Well, we're going to be told next week.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the problem with reading and noticing all the clues is then you're now waiting for all the clues to be resolved.
And then when you don't get the resolution in book 1,
you're
annoyed. Or you're Brian and you're really excited for book 2.
I am.
There's 2 ways to react. One is petty, one is more productive.
Did you read Harry Potter? Did you? Huh? Did you read Harry Potter? Huh? Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone? Did you read that one? Did you?
Yes.
Oh, they didn't resolve anything either.
I would actually say Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Falafel. Oh, good.
Yeah, the Falafel Stone. Very good.
Harry Potter and the Falafel Cart.
Yeah.
Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone. I would actually say that is the only book that resolved everything or anything in its own self. Because it was the story of year 1, and then in theory, if you didn't read ever any of the other books, Voldemort's dead.
No.
It doesn't need. I think you can read Harry Potter 1 and never read any of the others, which is honestly probably what I would end up doing.
Strongly disagree with you.
But the problem is I can't actually go back and reread Harry Potter by itself anymore because everything else is already in my head.
Right.
So I can't re-experience. I can't just go and remove all those memories. But I don't care for the Harry Potter series.
Okay, that's fine.
Overblown.
That's fine. I don't like it either, but that's neither here nor there. The point is though that many good quality books are written in which not everything is resolved immediately. But and this I feel is where the 5th season, despite all its similarities to the previous book we read, Mistborn,
which are surface.
Yes, totally surface.
Very, very glossy surface.
But this is where I feel like the 5th season kind of scores over Mistborn in several considerable ways. Because somebody's going to ask, well, you said it didn't resolve. I feel like the 5th season has completed what it set out to do.
Do you know what?
And what it set out to do was made clear from the start? What do you want me to know?
I think my problem is because I had been told by one of our listeners, that is part of the Goodreads group, that this book stands alone.
Uh-huh.
And I will say that Mistborn delivers. It tidies up everything it wants you to know.
Mm-hmm.
It does so neatly with a crisp edge package and a little bow and a big happy hug. This does not. This, however, is a more organic, productive, involved world and story. This is not tidy.
No.
And I think it is the better book of the two.
Oh, definitely.
But I don't even hate Mistborn like Brian does, guys. And I finished the book too. But I think if I had come in knowing it was part of a series and not having been told it can stand alone, I probably would have been happier with the ending.
You think?
I do. Because I still don't think this feels like an ending.
It feels
it feels like a breath before the plunge.
It definitely feels like an ending. It's an ending of what it set out to do. Remember how the book opens, okay? It doesn't open at chapter 1.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. The problem is I also read this book 3 weeks ago.
So okay, now that you see it, explain it to the rest of them. What's my point?
I don't know how much I can say about your point.
Go for it. Say what I'll let you know.
Because your point is kind of revolving around one of the giant reveals.
Yeah, okay, this is true.
You turd.
This is true.
Don't try and call me out on something I'm not allowed to say.
We are given a scene to begin with, okay?
Yes, we are given a prologue.
A prologue.
And if you start there and remember it exists.
For which we have zero context. Okay? But we're told a number of things. We're made to feel a certain way in this prologue. We're made to see the world in a specific way to begin with. And then the rest of the book is leading to that prologue, okay? And filling in what we need to know in order to understand that prologue and what has happened and why it has happened.
It's all very squishy because you need the prologue to understand the book, but the book makes the prologue make sense.
Right. You might almost say it runs in a circle.
I'd probably go with
like it's cyclical, which I think, again, is deliberate.
Yes. This is a very crafted, deliberate book.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ease back from my grumping about the ending because you make a very valid point. I'm still annoyed by it. That's not going to change because I don't like having to read a book and then having to read 2 more books when I was told that all I had to read was the first book.
Right. Okay. So
this book succeeded in getting me involved in the world to make me want to know what happens for the rest of the books.
Yep.
But the problem I have is I don't care for the way it's presented.
Okay. That's fine. You cannot like it.
Ugh.
You cannot like it.
I want to read it, but I don't want to read it.
I'm going to read the rest of them.
Well, I know you're going to read the rest of them. I could actually just say, Brian, why don't you tell me what happens in the other 2 books? And you could pretty much just lay it all out.
I could.
Because you're very good at that.
Uh-huh.
I'm not, but people don't come to listen to me. They come to listen to you. Let's be honest.
Oh, pish posh. The
Captain Golden Tones over there.
Yeah, right. The point I would like to make at this stage, because it's really a hard book to discuss, because again, to really dig into it, we have to start digging into spoilers, and I don't want to do that for people who are hearing this going, well, should I read this book? Because then what's the point? You know?
Brian says 100% yes. I
Absolutely
say yes with hesitations.
Yeah, it's
with caveats.
Technically 2 yeses. Technically.
It's a yes and a half.
All right, a yes and a half.
It's not something I would tell everybody to read. I do have people in my life. I would say, this is what you're getting into, so read it if you want, but, you know. Are you actually going to explain the title? Because that's kind of a big part, and it is explained pretty early.
You want me to explain the title? Okay, so the title is The Fifth Season. The fifth season, there are 4 seasons in the world, right? In typical fashion, there's spring, summer, fall, and winter. Okay? That's 4 seasons. What's the 5th season? Well, the 5th season is the winter that never ends. Okay?
The debt that all men pay.
Yes, it's the season of death, basically. Because each of these cataclysms that occurs in the world, in one way or another, affects the ability of the world to produce and support life. Okay, that's what it comes down to, basically. Sometimes it's a massive volcanic eruption that blackens the sky with ash for years and years on end. Right. Sometimes it's just a weird seasonal change in the growth of certain plants that causes a species of plant that has been relied on for food and sustenance to die out, which then necessitates a period of starvation and whatnot as people scramble to recover from that and find a way to make things better. Sometimes it's, a massive earthquake that breaks up supply lines and the ability to transport goods from one place to another, and therefore isolates places so that people die off from that isolation.
It is a non-specific cataclysmic event that basically halts life as they know it for an extended period of time.
Correct.
And all communities, this is why community is so important, all communities are centered around making those times survivable.
Right.
So the 5th season is the central concept around all of this lore and community and everything that the world goes through.
Mm-hmm.
This is how people think of the world.
It is. It's a good book.
So not that I have to look to
really
ask
good.
you, Brian, how many stars did you give this book?
I gave it 5 stars.
How many stars do you think I did?
You gave it 2 because you're picky and grumpy. No?
Dear Internet, you just heard Brian call somebody picky and grumpy. I gave it 4.
Oh, you did?
Only because you talked it up enough.
Oh.
It would have been a 3 because of my personal reticence.
Uh-huh.
But you made enough good points about the structure of the book that I was... Because Goodread doesn't let you do a 3.5.
No.
It would have honestly been a 3.5 for me. But you talked it up enough, and you gave me that last little click that I had lost somewhere in the past 3 weeks because life has been insane.
Right.
But that pushed it up to the 4.
Good.
I'm still not sure I'm going to read the other 2 books, but I probably will, just because I want to know. And it's better to experience than to be told, because that's how writing works.
Right.
Show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell. Okay, I feel like we've done all we really can do in discussing this. Yeah, without ruining all kinds of stuff. Just, I would definitely read this and form your own opinion.
But don't talk to Brian unless it's a good one.
That's right. Don't come on my show and tell me you didn't enjoy
You'll just get stonewalled and crushed and sad.
Aw, are you sad now?
No, because I love talking to people that are excited about things, and I love listening to people be enthusiastic about things, and this is a good place to do that. Even when you're grumpy, you have good points. Even when you're picky, you have good points.
Well, I suppose then you want to know what we're going to be doing for our next book.
Because I failed at my mission, Brian saved me.
That's right. She could not come up with a book to save her life.
Well, I wanted to read something nonfiction and whatever, and all of the nonfiction books that I've been interested in, I realized later Brian was pointing out to me.
Right.
And Brian didn't want to do just a blah, blah, blah reread, which is funny considering the book that was chosen.
Considering what we are now about to launch into. So
which is amazing and exciting.
I had to come to her rescue. The holiday season.
My knight in literary armor.
That's right. The holiday season is upon us, Leslie.
God, I know.
Now, I'm gonna caveat this right off the bat. We have both read this book before. And I suspect a certain percentage of our listeners have read this book before. But I equally suspect a certain percentage of our listeners have not read this book before. And this is one of those books I feel like most people who are interested in the world, in tradition, in life in general, should read.
I think that's fair. And you know what? This is the holiday season, and it should be filled with mistletoe and holly.
That's right. And I want to go out on a high note out of this reading group thing for the year. I want to go out on a high note with a book I know I'm going to enjoy because I've enjoyed it previously. And I've
enjoyed it every December for several years now.
Yep. And I want it to spark a discussion beyond just the book itself. And I think it will do that quite nicely. So without further ado, the book we are going to read for the final book of the 2018 Digressions and Dragons reading group is Hogfather by Terry Pratchett.
You're welcome. You did a good job. I'm glad that I failed.
Yeah. I anticipate that we will talk about Hogfather and we will swiftly move into talking about the rest of his works, which I'm looking forward to actually, because I would like to have a discussion with you about the general workings of Mr. Terry Pratchett and his offerings in a literary sense. I think that'll be fun.
I'm actually really excited about this because I started watching. There is a mini series that was done. It's very well done. Do not count that as reading the book.
No, don't.
It doesn't work. I mean, it's beautiful and it's well done and it captures a lot of the things, but it does not count.
No, it doesn't count.
This is like high school. You can't just go watch the play and pretend that you read it.
Mm-mm.
And for those of you that know who Terry Pratchett is but have not read, yes, this is one of 32?
Oh, at least.
One of many of the Discworld novels. It is later, but it is also successfully standalone. This is actually one of the books that I use to bring people into Discworld.
Yep.
So it'll be a little confusing maybe at the start, but you'll find the rhythm and it is so worth it.
If nothing else, you'll get to meet the God.
And the pixie.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. We're going to do Hogfather, and I am so looking forward to doing this with you and reading through it that I can hardly contain myself.
I'm looking forward to being told how wrong I am about things.
Oh, good. That'll be great. That works for me. It's totally up my alley.
That's why this works so well for you.
But yes, that's what we're going to do. Please join us for the Hogfather. It will probably, I'm going to guess, be an extra long episode coming in December.
I hope it's coming in December. Otherwise, we're kind of backwards.
Just before Christmas. Dun, dun, dun.
We need an intro with jingle bells.
Yes, we do. In fact, let me see. Yep, just before Christmas. If we do everything right, it will be out on the 20th or the 21st? 20th.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll pretend that's going to be accurate. We'll see what happens. But that's it for now. Please go read the 5th season while you're at it. If you've been waiting for us to say whether it was a terrible, awful book or the most amazing thing ever, I'm voting most amazing thing ever, or at least leaning heavily in that direction.
It's on the upswing of the two options. My reply would be, if you're waiting for us to tell you whether or not to read this book, you're missing the point of a reading group.
Yes.
I know that we play with our cards close to our chest in the Goodreads discussion, but we can't reply to anything if you don't make comments either. Just throwing that out there.
Exactly.
Engage.
Exactly. And I will be arguing with Goodreads group about how to add in Hogfather to the reading list, because it never works the same way twice, as far as I can tell. But it will get there. And also, in addition to that, at the same time as the thing we will be discussing next time we meet, we're also going to talk about what the reading group might look like in the new year and how we might go about doing things a bit differently. Learning lessons from things we've done already.
And from useful people who provide feedback.
That's right. If you have a suggestion for the reading group, head over to the reading group and make your suggestion there so we can all discuss it about how we would like our reading group to work, or even if it should continue to work at all. That could be an option. Maybe it's just, maybe you don't.
That was my question, was like, are we going to keep doing this? I mean, I love reading books and I love talking about books, so I'm happy to do it.
We've had some stinkers.
We have had a couple of resounding stinkers, yes. But you know what? You found a couple new 5 stars.
I did.
And that, I think, that does well.
That pays for the stinkers. That makes all the bad reading better. So there you go. And that, on that note, happy post Thanksgiving, happy soon to be December-y Christmassy time.
Happy
And
leftovers.
happy leftovers. Have a turkey sandwich for me. But for now,
We're out of time.